Caught red-handed. Welcome everyone to Simon drinking his coffee and Lee playing with his Lego down the bottom for a very laid-back first in a brand new series of us co-hosting How to Hire Cyber Talent. So over to you, Lee, to say a quick hello, and then I'll jump into the chat and welcome all our amazing guests today whilst drinking decaf coffee.
No, I know you're purely passing it across to me just so you can drink your coffee. That's all that's going on there. I'm just going to keep asking you questions so you can't drink now. Sorry.
But look, it's great to have you on here, Lee. Lee and I, for people that don't know, Lee and I went into business together just before Christmas, actually, wasn't it? December last year with Jobs in Cyber. And we're off to a pretty good start. Lots of roles coming on in the UK. Got some US roles coming on soon as well. But this show is about Simon getting his words out, and also a chance for everyone to learn a bit about where Lee comes from, and then digging into the all-important topic of how to hire cyber talent from, I suppose, my own brief experience and Lee's much more extensive. But I want to just take a second before we jump in. There's loads of you in the chat, and I want to take a moment to thank you all individually. So Beth, amazing news about your mum. Really, really glad to hear she's coming home. We'll have to catch up over the weekend. That's superb. Shane, nice to see you. Alana, thank you again for coming in. Precious, massive welcome. Druva, great to see you. Who else have we got? Ellie, hope you're all right. Help me, Lee. Is there any more? We've got Nika, we've got Kian, and I think if I've missed anyone, I do apologise. Morehouse Hacks. Good to see you all the way from Virginia. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, Lee, I am going to throw it to you now while I drink my coffee, because there's a couple of things I want to clear up. Hey, Sully. One, whose Lego is it, yours or your children's?
Mine. This one's mine. I bought this for me. It's my Lego Bowser.
Have you glued it together?
No.
Good. Okay.
No, but the kids know it's not a toy. It's not a toy. There you go. See? Yeah. Everyone has Lego.
That is mine as well. My wife bought me that for, I think, my 40th birthday, long time ago now. But I've kept it out of reach of the children, basically, which is why it's worked well. Hi, David. Nice to see you too. So, Lee, look, I'm going to throw it to you. For all the people who've heard my story like a million times on here and don't ever want to hear it again, can we hear yours?
Yeah, I mean, I am the ripe old age now of 34.
Whoa, hold on, because just stop there. Because bad enough that I look like your dad on the thumbnail for this event without start talking about age, Lee. Come on.
Yeah, well, it was just more to kind of give it a sense of that. I mean, I've been in cyber and IT for 10, 11 years? Yeah, about 10 or 11 years, I think it is now. Yeah, it was the year after I got married, so it's 10 years. I shouldn't really know that.
Really should.
There you go. Yeah, I should. And I took that very generic route into IT and cyber, in that I left college wanting to be an accountant, as every young man dreams of being. Started my accountancy apprenticeship, did that for 3 years, realized don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I lived in Canada, then I came back, then I got into fitness training, and then I got into IT and cybersecurity. That's that generic route that almost everyone follows. It's
You're not telling me you didn't do a boot camp and break your way in that way, Lee.
No, they weren't about it at that point. I did a boot camp to become a personal trainer, though, so I did do that.
Did
Yeah,
you?
there you go. Yeah, but no, and so my background, my history within IT is sales. It's
Okay.
what I do. It's what I love, and as I enjoy interacting with people one on one, and things all like we do. You raising your hand there, Simon?
No, I was trying to sneakily change my camera so
um,
I could show you my new headset.
yeah. So I got into sales. I started off doing cold calling, 150, 160 calls a day. And then from there, I've just progressed to the point where I started my own company, and this is Jobs in Cyber is the third one, and I always do it with the aim of trying to improve the market. I see something which I feel is wrong, so I'm like, if I see it, other people probably do as well. So I'm like, well, look, let's have a go at trying to change something. Let's try something new, see what happens, see if it works. Find people who I can work with, who I got on with, who we have a good, I hate the term, but good synergy with. And you've got a lot more experience than me, Simon. It's one of those things. Jobs in cyber is something which
I've definitely failed. I've definitely failed more than you have.
There's no such thing as failure. No such thing as failure. The only
Well,
failure is the failure to participate.
There is. Well, there's a saying by, I can't remember, someone famous about show me a man who hasn't failed, and I'll show you someone who hasn't ever tried anything, something similar. But that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. But let's just stick back. Let's just jump back on your job at the moment. Talk to me. Sorry, your existing business. Talk to me about what you've been doing with your cybersec.
Yeah, so your cybersec, that's coming up 4 years now, which is so it's me and my wife. Just really going from strength to strength, and we started that because we saw again what I felt was something was needed in the market, which was that cybersecurity procurement concierge broker service, where companies come to us, we understand, I take the time to understand who they are, their resources, their drivers, timescale, whatever it may be, and then I look at the market and I save. Because my wife does it with me, we save the company time and the IT people time and money by doing all the legwork, and we don't charge for it. And that has given me a really good network of people and services, solutions, CISOs, IT directors, vendors, suppliers. So, and that's where speaking to them, one of the big things I found was a common factor and a common theme was the hiring. Part of the problem is that there's some fantastic recruiters out there. Don't get me wrong. I've worked with quite a few. There are some very good ones out there, but at the same time, there's some not so good ones. It's a career that everybody thinks they can do, but that is not the case at all.
I want to talk about that a bit today. Just to quickly jump back in the chat, we've got Stephen Dick in there. Hey, Stephen, good to see you. And Mike Miller, who's all about breaking into cybersecurity, and we've got him on the show on the CISO Experience in a week and a bit's time. And I want to talk about the elephant in the room. The expectations. That's a shit elephant impression. Yeah. If we weren't live, I'd cut that. It's the topic that no one wants to talk about because it's not popular on LinkedIn, and I want to address that today because I was this person where I thought I could go from zero experience, apart from personal experience in IT, to kind of a fairly high level job straight away. And I think there's a lot of marketing bullshit out there that suckers people in like myself to those situations, which is one of the main reasons why I set up the InfoSec Live community. But the point is, I want to talk about how important it is for those breaking in to manage their expectations.
I actually did a post on LinkedIn about this yesterday, which was, just because you play Sims doesn't mean you're an interior designer. Just because you play Call of Duty doesn't mean you're a Marine. And it's the same with, you got certain tools out there for a lot of people wanting to break in. The most common job and people, career that I hear people wanting to break into cyber is penetration testing, because first off, they think it's, super glamorous, loads of fun. You know, I'm sure they've seen Swordfish and everyone thinks they can turn into Hugh Jackman and they get to see Halle Berry sunbathing on a balcony somewhere. It's not quite like that. But with that is that when they look at it, you know, you've got these tools out there like Hackbox and Try Hack Me, absolutely fantastic. They are really, really good at giving people a good grounding and a good base knowledge around some of the techniques that they need to use. But too many people think that because they are, as you see posted everywhere, in the top 5%, in the top 2%, you know, of these programs. Surprisingly, no one ever boasts with, I'm in the top 80%. You know what I mean? It's because you see these people with these stats and like, oh, I'm amazing pen tester. The problem is learning those technical skills is just a very, very small area of it. You've got to be able to deal with the customers, deal with salespeople, learn how to do reporting, learn how to do QA, put context around things. It's not just using these tools which are already built to have certain vulnerabilities and certain issues in to make a pen tester. There's a lot more than that. And it's, as you said, people don't want to hear that at times. It's that simple.
They don't, but let's just play devil's advocate a little bit, because there are true entry-level jobs in cybersecurity, and I think you got one on the books today. Let's just talk about that role a little bit and explain how that is for someone without experience.
Yeah,
I hope you've read the spec.
Pardon?
I hope you read the spec.
Yeah. So well, that one is with a company that I know quite well, because with your cybersec, you know, I know the people there, so I have a good feeling for who they are. Because in case people can't tell, I'm from the north of England. You know, I'm not quite as eloquent in my speech as Simon, but you know, I've got the occasional good word I can break out there. Yeah, so that is a true one where it's not necessarily down to they need people with experience. You know, a junior job, you just need 5 years of experience. No, yeah. This is they'd be happy if someone's just done, say, a course, a boot camp. Yeah, a boot camp on even just on IT and how to, you know, use computers and things. It's not necessarily, you know, they don't need someone with years of experience. It is for someone who is looking to break in. It is a proper junior role, but with that comes a junior salary.
Yeah.
Which again, this is where you get people who do these courses, and you know, they do these courses, they pay for these things online, and they're like, you are suddenly worth a lot more. It's like, no, you're still a junior. You still don't actually have any experience. You just have, you just potentially learn some decent skills, or as it's been before, you've learned some bad habits. You've learned to do things a certain way that a certain person likes, which isn't necessarily the way the people you're trying to get employed by like. And it's a completely different thing. But this one is a junior one, as I said. It's based in Leeds, so it's office-based in Leeds, in the UK, which again, people don't always like, I don't want to be based in an office. But if you're going to be a SOC analyst, especially
not just that, but not just that. If you're going to be a junior, anything, I'd say being around your peers and learning from people with structure is probably crucially important. And for everyone who wants to work from home, I get that. But in reality, when you're starting out in a career, it might not be that simple.
No, definitely. There's another really good company that we're working with for some sales roles. But again, they've got sales academy and they want people in the office so that they can learn how to do it. It's not just learning necessarily, especially in sales, or actually any role. It's not just learning sales. You need to learn what the technical people actually do. You need to learn from the other people in the positions, because you need to work with them. Because effectively, as corny as it sounds, you're all part of a team. So you need to be able to work as a team, and you need to be able to understand what is that they actually need and they're wanting. When it is, you know, we're testing with scoping, with GRC, you know, what actual is part of the compliance, you know, is it PCI, is it ISO, is it SOC, is it NIST, you know, what is it that someone's actually looking for, and learning these key phrases. When I was starting off, I had an absolutely fantastic manager, and I worked with some fantastic consultants and testers, and I would take the time to actually sit in as many scoping calls and as many meetings as I could, making notes and then asking questions afterwards. I probably annoyed them and pissed them off a lot, in all fairness.
I imagine.
Yeah. But it gave me a really good grounding for kind of where I am, and like building up a very, very good base knowledge, to, you know, moving forward. And that's what a lot of people don't necessarily seem to want to do now.
No, I think
Just my
again though that there are exceptions to that, especially when it comes to previous career experience. So I'll use myself as a loose example because I hate governance, risk, and compliance. But I spent 25 years dealing with governance, risk, and compliance, and 10 years of that with control and oversight functions in a regulated business. And a lot of that is transferable, especially, I suppose, again, with the financial services angle, the report writing skills that you learn. So some of it is transferable. And again, would you say people with those transferable skills who've done maybe a year or two of learning, they can expect to come in at a slightly higher level?
Potentially, if the role's there and the role's open. That because
Yeah.
this is another thing I've seen is the roles that are out there, people apply for them and then be unhappy that what they're actually applying for isn't what they want.
Yeah.
It's they're saying, oh, well, I'm a junior role, but I've got 3 years experience, so I can do that role and then do more. So pay me more. It's like, well, that's not what the company's hiring for. But there's some like, there's some fantastic people we've spoken to looking for work, and that they've got like 20 years of experience in a different industry. Like, oh, my skills aren't transferable. Like, well, what did you do? Oh, I ran a business. I had to do the reporting, I had to do the auditing, I had to check the functions, help with the training. I'm like, there's lots of stuff here you can do.
Yeah.
It's what people need to learn as well is when people are applying for a job, effectively what you're trying to do at that first stage is sell as well. You're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to put yourself forward. I mean, I think I saw someone ask a question earlier about CVs.
Yeah. Although Druva's just said chat GPT for report writing. I mean, good point, Druva.
Well,
Yeah,
there's lots
it
of
was it was Beth actually. Let me find it. I'll bring it up. Would you recommend a professional service, either a resume writer or headhunter, for example, for those of us struggling to get hired? Beth is like myself, slightly more mature than you, Lee, but she brings with her. I've spoken to her a few times. She brings with her masses of experience, not just with tech, but with coding and lots of different things. But she's really struggling to do the transition piece. Do you think that would help?
um, yes and no. Everyone needs to learn to do it. It depends what area you're going into. The best person to write the CV in theory is the person who's writing it, because they need to sell themselves, and no one knows yourself better than yourself. But
Yeah.
then since we started at the start of December, I think I reviewed about 12 or 13 different CVs and gone back, and you see everyone kind of follows the same pattern. There's certain things but I'm doing everything from my point of view and my opinion, which
Yeah.
it could be completely different to someone else's. Like, my thing is, I don't think CVs should be written in the first person. If someone's writing a CV, if I was reading a CV, you don't write, I can do this, because the CV is your CV. It's already implied. It's about that person. So make it shorter, more succinct, and don't do it that way. My opinion. Some people like it to be written in that way, but it doesn't make sense. And then silly things like continuity. If you're going to be putting the date in one place in one format, make sure you're doing that the whole way through. Make sure your fonts are the same, because you are selling.
You've ripped me apart on several documents I've put together, and rightly so, for not just poor grammar, but poor repetition or not repetition. Using the and symbol rather
Oh
than
God, I hate that. Yeah.
yeah.
But this comes. I've read a lot of reports, and I've done it where I have reviewed reports for people because I can be a bit of a nitpicky twat when I'm going through this stuff.
Really
But
can.
if you're going for a job where you're going to have to be report writing, it's the company's first impression of how you are going to be writing reports and how you style things. Can you keep things continuous? Do you waffle or
Yes.
not?
Oh, sorry.
It is the first impression. It's your first point of selling yourself to that company. So
I'm trying to do two things at once. I just noticed InfoSec Pat's in the house. Hey, Pat, good to see you here. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. And Beth actually came back just to clarify her experience there, which is IT, SOX, PCI, or compliance auditor. That's where the majority of her experience lies. I would argue that there's an
where's
awful
Beth
lot
based?
in,
Sorry.
not in Leeds, unfortunately. She's based in the
Yeah,
US. She's based in the
yeah.
US. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. PCI is a
I
massive
think.
one.
Well, I'm
Growing
just
it.
going to put you on the spot now, Lee. Would you? There's a couple of people watching. There's Ellie and Beth, who I've passed Ellie's resume over to a couple of people this week. Would you do a couple of resume reviews for me?
If you want me to, yeah.
And
I'm not going to say no.
I know that's why I asked you now. Yeah, brilliant. I've got both Beth's and Ellie's, so I'll sling them over to you in an email afterwards. Get you to have a look.
Yeah, it's people just need to be ready for me to be a bit brutal at times.
And yeah, don't be offended by him. It took me weeks to not be offended by his pedantic
Yeah,
pickiness.
yeah. I'm from Yorkshire. I'm pretty straight talking. I'm pretty
Yeah,
direct with stuff.
it's what I
Yeah,
like about you. Okay, let's move on to not managing people's expectations. Hey, Kev, great to see you here. Let's talk about what roles you're seeing the most of available in your experience the last few months.
So the ones I've got lots of. We've Simon, jobs in cyber. We've got lots of roles at the moment. We've got sales. There's quite a lot of sales roles at the moment. Channel and sales and things. Channel sales, direct sales as well. Pen testers. But what people don't want to hear is their senior testing roles. Yeah, I'm devil's advocate, senior tester. Companies need senior testers before they can hire juniors and starters.
Yeah,
It's and the companies that we're speaking to are all growing very, very well, and they want to put in the platform for bringing in the juniors, helping to train people, but they can't do that until they have the senior positions in place where they can put that structure in. And let's be honest, the testers are the ones that for a pen testing company earn the company money.
yeah.
So they need to have the right structure in place to be able to do this. And all these companies want to offer more entry positions, but before that, they need the senior testers. And that's where at the moment we're seeing a lot. There's quite a lot. Sorry, Beth. There's quite a few GRC roles going in the UK that I'm working on at the moment. Sorry.
That doesn't mean we can't start to find some in the US. I've started doing some outreach this week.
There's a couple of companies I work with where they have associates based in the US. So it'll actually be interesting to have a look at your CV and speak to you as well, find out what you're looking for, because maybe something where I can actually help there.
I think it's worth just digging into. We're not a typical recruitment company either, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, the main reason it's me and Lee. Second reason, and more important, is that we're reasonably competitively priced when it comes to how we charge employers for finding the roles. So typically in the market, Lee, people charge in the UK between 10 and 15%. Is it roughly?
Depending on the role, yeah. I think that, to be honest, I think the lowest I heard was 12%, all the way up to 30, all the way up to 30%.
Especially, in the US, I think between 20 and 30 is quite normal. We're doing it a little bit differently. Do you want to just talk about that for a moment?
Yeah. So again, this comes from my experience. With my other company, we are looking to grow. So I spoke to some recruiters, and as I said, there's some absolutely fantastic recruiters out there. There really are. There's some which I would, if I'd set my own, I'd work with and I have worked with, and most of them are always willing to help as well. Any good recruiter will be willing to help both the candidate and the company.
Yeah.
Whether it's the company hiring, actually define the job properly, and maybe put sense around it and make things more realistic, and to help candidates actually understand that you don't have enough experience to go in at the level you want. You maybe need to look lower. Have you thought about, this is how your skills transfer? They take the time with this stuff. But the way that we're going to be doing it, and the way we are doing it successfully at the moment, is we charge a much smaller fee up front. It's just more of a goodwill gesture, and pays for a bit of advertising for the role, doesn't it, Simon? And then at that point, that's on a two-tier scale, depending on the salary, the starting salary. And then after that, there's nothing payable by the hiring company until the person placed passes probation. So it's a different model where it's a much smaller fee up front. Typically.
I was just going to say you're going to have to say how much, because it is really quite a low fee. So
yeah, so typically, for any salary up to £50,000, it's a £250 upfront fee. And that's before we start doing the work, because we've got admin and things we need to do. And anything over 50,000, it's £450, which is very, very low. Especially when you think the higher salaries, especially with testers, we need to validate certificates, we need to check that they're still in date, and there's a lot more that we need to do. And then,
but not 15% more, hey?
No, not at this point. And then the fee that we charge after they pass probation is just 5%. So it's a much, much lower rate than anyone out there, which a lot of people ask, is it sustainable? And going by the rate of the things that we're getting in, if me and Simon can get this right, it certainly is, because we've got a very good community. And the focus is then on us to make sure that we are putting the right people forward. We're not just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
I think again, having experience of owning a business before, where my fixed costs for office, company cars, all this kind of stuff was well over 175,000 a year. I mean, our fixed costs, our fixed. I mean, again, and you see companies now setting up with bright, shiny new offices, and I'd argue, whilst that's lovely, it's not for me. And I think in the space that we're in with recruitment, it's also not needed either. And for us to grow, especially globally, being remote is crucial. And I think we're soon going to be at the stage, based on the last few weeks traction that we've got, where we're going to need to start recruiting some people in to help us with the candidate searching. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's gone a little bit crazy, which is both nice and obviously has its own troubles in that I'm trying to run another company, which is going very, very well, where we're looking to hire this year, because people have jumped on board with what we do and the model we have, which is different to anyone else out there. It's focusing on meeting the customer's requirements rather than selling them what we have, which is an entirely different model. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously on the side of that, there's the stuff that we're doing which we enjoy a lot more. No offense, which is the events and things as well. Where we're trying things slightly different, in that instead of saying, here you go, this is the event, this is what you're going to learn about CISOs and IT directors, we've asked, we've reached out to find out what they actually want to hear about, and then we're going to do the event on that.
I mean, again, that it's not the same as, all the feedback we've had from CISOs over the last few months has been, they don't want it to be a sales pitch. They understand that it's going to be sponsored and there'll be a presence there, and people will obviously take that on board. But it's more about facilitating people, networking, sharing ideas and best practice in a laid back setting that encourages that, rather than, for example, a 5-course meal with a black tie do on, where you're all sat around a table and don't get a chance to mix. We don't want that. We want it to be different.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Surprisingly, that's not me.
No, me neither. Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, I'm not sitting down and having a fancy black tie meal. That's not me. No, it's more about, in the UK, it's finding the pubs, the breweries. The first one is in Cambridge at the Museum of Technology next month. That's going to be really good. Where we've got the local brewery runs all the refreshments and stuff, and they've just built a brand new wood fire pizza oven. So, and because it's sponsored, everyone who attends gets drinks and pizza. So it's far more laid back, a lot more informal. And then in the US, where Simon's leading the charge on that one, I'll be joining next year probably.
Well, let's talk about. I think it's worth sharing. So the whole CISO experience on tour was an idea that you and I thought up like a few weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
in one of our random rantings, where
it was one of our random chat sessions based on all the feedback that we'd had about what people wanted. And let me tell you all what's happened since then. So within 2 days, we landed a sponsor for the Cambridge event in the UK, which is Cyberscale, a local firm to me here, which is amazing. Although I didn't get the sponsor you did, which is ironic. Supported by Cyber East, and Cyber East are a not-for-profit. Am I right in saying? Yeah, and they are part of. Is it the part of the police? No, have I got that wrong?
Yeah, I think they're part of like the Cyber East or the Resilience Centre on there. There's different groups around the UK, so they're there to kind of help support local businesses and things. They do a lot of good work. A lot of them do around the UK, different clusters.
Yeah.
and things. To do a lot of good stuff. I mean, that was another thing, is each event, it's focused in local areas. We're doing different locations, so it's not just focusing on, as much as that's in London. There is
Yeah.
going to be one in London,
Yeah.
but it's finding these other areas like Cambridge, Bristol, Newcastle, where they don't necessarily get lots of these different events.
No, I completely agree. And off the back of that, I can't mention names yet because we haven't signed the paperwork, but we have also landed a sponsor for all the rest of our UK events over the next year as well. And again, this has only been going a few weeks. And then to carry that conversation on, I mean, I think just to confirm the UK ones, we're doing Cambridge on the 23rd of February. Then we are going to, I'm going to get this
Manchester,
wrong. Yeah, let me just list where they are. So Cambridge, Manchester, Leeds, London,
Leeds, London,
London, Edinburgh,
Edinburgh.
and I've had a request for Cardiff, and I've also had a
Yeah,
request
I've
for
had a request for
Southampton.
Bristol,
Yeah,
Southampton, Newcastle.
yeah. So there'll probably be, as much as we wanted to keep them a little bit more apart than this, I think we're going to end up having to do them every 6 weeks to fit them all in this year, which is super exciting. And I think, as you said a moment ago, the fact that, sorry, I was trying to read KevTech's comment on there. The fact that they're not geographically close, well, in UK standards, means that there should be, a good shout for it. I mean, the one in Cambridge, we've got it over half filled already. The demand has been crazy, and we haven't even marketed it yet. We only started doing a bit of outreach on LinkedIn yesterday, so I've got no doubts at all that that's going to be oversubscribed. But again, we don't want loads of people there. Without being mean,
No.
it then takes away from what the events are. So we're looking for a max 30, 35 people, I would say.
Yeah,
And
and it's with the Cambridge one, it's not just Cyberscale who are going to do a little piece on, because that's all around incident response and management.
yeah,
And they have a fantastic service around that. I've worked with Darren for a number of years. We've got Telefonica turning up to tell some of their war stories about when they've been, when they've had, attacks or different incidents, how they responded, how they planned, if their plans worked, what they learned, how they adapted. And for each one, we want to try and get a different type of speaker around different areas.
yeah.
The areas.
Again, the areas will be dictated by the feedback we get from the industry leaders in the area as to what they actually
Yeah,
want
and
to
then we'll
hear.
reach out to people who actually have the experience, be that a CISO, be that a company, an organisation such as Telefonica UK, which is quite a good one to have for the very first event.
Yeah,
Having them
no,
come down and do this.
absolutely. I'm blown away by that. I'm going to bring my 17-year-old along for that as well. He's doing technology
Make sure
levels
he
at the
buys a
moment.
ticket, Simon. Yeah.
I've already told him that. He hasn't been paid for his KFC job yet, so he's got to wait.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing to note is, it's a ticketed event because obviously it encourages people to actually turn up onto the boat. But of the ticket, we're not actually taking anything from that. There's going to be a donation to charity based off the ticket sales, and we're also going to do a Lego raffle because,
Yeah,
as you pointed out earlier, I mean, you like Lego, so
I
yeah,
certainly do.
we're going to do a Lego raffle. So it's more just to encourage people to actually turn up.
Yeah. And for those of you watching in the US, again, the response we've had has been quite phenomenal. We've already nailed down, and I haven't announced this yet, so I'll mention it briefly now without too much details, but we're going to be in Atlanta on the 30th of March, followed by, and that is a big thanks to another recruiter in the space who are based in the UK and the US, which is in Tasso. And I've been working with Greg Aitken on co-hosting the first CISO event in the US with him. So we're doing Atlanta on the 30th, followed by Tampa Bay in Florida on the 31st, which is being supported by Steve Hindle, who's the CISO at Mad Mobile, who we've had on the CISO Experience show, and also a company called 360 Advanced, who are a GRC provider in the US. The intention is from there, I've got, I think, 7 or 8 different locations that we've already had interest from different sponsors, and that's going to be Washington, San Francisco for RSA because it makes sense, and I think Texas is going to be hit hard. We've got Austin, Houston, and Dallas, I believe.
If you make one of that, if you make one of those a barbecue event, I'll try and make it.
You'll definitely come. All right, okay.
Yeah.
But the point is, we're going to try and cover most regions in the US throughout 2023 as well. And again, not big events this year. Maybe they will be a little bit bigger in 2024. Who knows? But the focus at the moment is on people building relationships. And while we're on that, I've just got a quick thing to mention. Hey, Mike, great to see you. KevTech IT, for anyone who is trying to break in and hasn't got the fundamentals right, like I didn't have, KevTech does such an amazing job with his content, and I'd recommend you all check that out on YouTube. And I'm also very pleased to say, after the struggles we've had, or I've had, building the InfoSec Live community over the last 18 months, we've finally been in a position to do our first sponsorship of someone else. And very proud to say that we're sponsoring KevTech IT as a community sponsor from January onwards. So very excited to support you, Kev, and look forward to seeing more of your great work. And he's another example of the power of networking and the power of being driven to break into an industry, who's come from working in a restaurant to working in IT to now breaking into cybersecurity about 2 weeks ago, which is just phenomenal. And the other thing I want to point out is all of these sponsorship opportunities that have come up. Where do you think they've come from? They haven't come from cold outreach on LinkedIn. I can tell you that for nothing. They've come from people I've met at in real life events over the past 12 months. So Black Hat Europe, I met our sponsor for the rest of the UK shows, who we'll be announcing soon, and all the support from the people in the US. A couple of those have been from when I went to San Francisco. So I want to talk about the importance of networking. Tedious link there that you see I brought together, especially for those that are looking for a job. Mike, the sign was $29.99 off Amazon. Get in there. It was the Christmas present from my wife. How about that? But no, networking. I want to talk. About the importance of networking, and I'm going to throw that back to you while I drink my really cold coffee.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Sam. I'm a really bad one to say for networking. It's not something I massively enjoy. Is going to actually no, I don't enjoy going to forced networking events. Is the way I'll put it.
Forced fun.
Which is why creating the CISO Live experience and doing that together. I'm creating the events that I would want to go to. Yeah. Which is what I think is important. It's not things like InfoSec Europe where it's just overwhelming, everything's there kicking off. It's it's not the one you can go down to your local, down in your local little town and stuff where you're speaking to people out in your industry and it's not worth your while. It's the people we're trying to focus and ensure it's the right, it's the like-minded people there who are there to discuss the same thing with different experiences, and it's creating the events that I would want to go to, because networking can be valuable when it's done right. You've built a fantastic network on LinkedIn. My network that I've built comes from running my own business for quite a few years within cyber and stuff, and it's finding the people that you get on with. Because I go obviously well with yourself and quite a few others, but then what I've also found is the people that I don't necessarily go on with, you don't necessarily go on with.
Correct. Let's talk about them.
The thing is, you are never ever going to be. You've got to understand and everyone needs to understand, you're not going to get on with everyone. No. There's going to be people where some people are shy, as Richard put, introverted. That there's going to be people like that, and you'll usually when you go around the room, you'll see them stood around the edges. Yeah. Like in an actual networking environment, I am one of the people stood around the edges because I don't like doing it. Yeah, don't like it, not for me. But put me on stage and I can talk. It's because it's a completely different thing. I can, when I'm speaking to a group, I can numb myself to it. Yeah. But put me one-on-one and I'm a lot more conscious with things.
I'll come back to that question in a moment. I just want to drop, otherwise I'll forget. You know what I'm like with my ADHD. I haven't written it down. I haven't got a pen. So there's a few people in the chat. For anyone who hasn't jumped on and followed their YouTube channels, I'd highly recommend that you do. First one is Mike Miller. His YouTube link is there. I've just dropped that in. Please check out his channel. There's some absolutely amazing content on there, especially if you're looking to break into cyber. The next one is the one I alluded to a moment ago. Big word for me on a Friday, which is KevTech IT's channel. And then the last one, who I'm collaborating with as well in a few weeks' time, might even be next week, Pat, actually, is InfoSec Pat. And InfoSec Pat has so many amazing tutorials. We're going to be covering off the best hacking tools for 2023. And I think one of those is the Flipper Zero that we're going to be covering off. So again, there's InfoSec Pat's channel. Please do like and subscribe and support these other people. They've inspired me massively over the last 12 months, and it'd be great if you could support them as well. Right. back to the chat. So Mike Miller come up with a comment there as well. Let's get rid of half your face. Introverts can be some of the greatest assets in cyber. You need to do this. Come on. They listen well, analyze, and when they speak, they are heard. Unlike some extroverts, including myself and me, Mike, I completely agree, who just talk too much. And again, from having my own business many years ago, it's always the people who've said absolutely nothing in meetings that you want to find out what they're thinking, because they're normally the ones who've actually sat there and listened to what's been said.
But what people as well need to realize is in the comments about Mike, most of the people in there are probably going to be introverts. They won't actually like going to these things. So as I said, you'll see them stood around the edge, holding a drink, nursing a drink, not really talking. But you all want to be there. You all want to be able to do it. No one's going to these things, to hurt anyone, or, to pick on anyone or do anything like that. You're all there for the right reasons. So it's just sometimes it can be very hard. But it's one of those things it just rip the Band-Aid off at times. And it can be really, really hard to do. I mean, you've already done really well by getting there in some instances. Because I'll be honest, most of the time I find any excuse I can not to go. But actually going and making the effort to go shows you want to try. So just try and take that leap and just stand next to someone else who's around the edge, and then eventually just start talking. But yeah,
it's like for anyone who can remember. Well, people aren't as old as me, but it's like the old school discos when we were kids. You get the boys on one side of the hall, and you get the girls on the other. No, was that just me?
Yeah.
Just me. Yeah.
I
never had a girlfriend. I never had a girlfriend. You are.
Down the old discotheque.
Yeah, discotheque. That's what we used to call them. Yeah, we used to have fluorescent, neon leg warmers on as well. That was the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, with what we're doing, it's like I said, the events trying to create something different. Jobs in cyber, we're taking a different approach. Happy to help the people looking to break in, review the CVs and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I might not be as responsive if I start getting 10 a day, because I do have to also do other stuff. But if there's enough, we may end up doing a session where we can do an advice or something like that.
But what we want to do with these, let me just jump in before I forget, is we're going to do these every Friday, right? 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UK time, and we want to bring different people on and add some value. Because
that's what I was linking to Simon. You beat me to it. I was literally about to say, and with that difference, we're going to start doing this. Yeah. I was literally linking to that to say, with that difference, we're wanting to bring the people on who are actually doing the hiring, so they can talk about what it is that they look for, what works, what doesn't work, what people should be thinking about putting the CV. It's like when you're going for a high job, slightly higher job, so to speak, shall we say, more senior, that's the word. You potentially need to tailor your CV to that organization. Overall CV might not work. There was someone I was talking to, really, really nice guy, lots of experience, but he was in your age category, Simon. And with that, on his CV,
mid-30s,
he had included things from when he was at school, like
who can remember that far back?
Yeah, but it's like that wouldn't be relevant at all to the roles that he was looking for. So then it's, if you're going for a role where you need to be succinct and do this stuff, that could be classed as waffle. Like, well, I don't need to know that. Take it off. Yeah. So that can be something. So someone
just want to address the swag comments. People say I need to get a link to your swag. I want to order a hoodie. This isn't actually an InfoSec Live hoodie. It's a shop bought one. So apologies, but a swag shop is a really, really good idea. And Beth's just asked a question, which I was waiting to see how long that would take to come up, because we've got quite a big American presence in the audience. Is there a real difference between a CV and a resume, such as structure or formatting? Now, I'll answer this from my own experience. As far as I'm aware, in the US, one's longer than the other. That's as much as I know. Hope that's cleared that up for you, Beth. Yeah. What about you, Lee?
I don't know.
No. It was Paul Cummings from Whole Cyberhuman Initiative who said that I think One was more about a detailed thing, maybe for government work where you're looking for security clearance, where you need to provide a lot of information. And the other one was that 1 or 2 pager that we would say is a CV, I suppose.
I'd be honest, I just thought CV was UK, resume was more American. I
Maybe.
thought it was pretty much the same. I thought they were very similar, very, very similar things. But for me, there's no, there you go.
There we are.
I
Thanks,
have not,
Sullivan.
yeah, I don't think you're allowed to you can't put pictures of yourself on them anymore when you submit them.
You told me that the
So,
other day. Yeah. I mean, obviously, not something I'd do anyways, put my picture on it, turn people off, but I didn't even know that.
I'd just redact yours if you did that. It's there's certain things which you need to include in there. A little bit of professional summary, because it shows how you can write and you can get your point across, and then your relevant experience as well. I quite like it when someone puts down something about the hobbies and their actual interests as well.
What,
Personally,
reading, walking, and swimming.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do come up a lot. But it's things like if you say you like reading, actually give an example of some of the books. So this is how walking, maybe example, left foot, right foot, doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's certain things where, again, you can expand a little bit. But again, that's my personal opinion. You may have a hiring manager from somewhere who just doesn't care for that. Each one's going to be different, but Pretty in Pink, each one's going to be different. And which is why doing these where we can get these different hiring managers on, it will hopefully kind of highlight what that each one's going to be different. So it may be that you can have a CV which is going to be, for the most part, 80% correct for every single job, but you may need to tailor it.
The intro.
Yeah, to suit the role. Which, if you really want that role, spending 20 minutes, making your CV right for it or your resume right for it shouldn't really be much of an issue for you.
No, I agree. I've had a great thought, actually. Thanks, David, by the way, about being excited about the sponsorship. It is really good news, and it means that hopefully we can start to expand these out a little bit more, not just the US and UK. I'd like to do a few different countries at some point. So if any sponsors are listening from different countries, do reach out. I've got some travel plans for 2023.
Yeah, if there's any cycling companies listening as well, I'm big into my cycling.
I would see that.
The Stelvio in Italy.
We'll cover off why you wear lycra in a bit before we wrap up. But Beth said that it seems that CVs are far more educated or technical in the US, whereas resumes are more generalized. Just didn't know if there's a preferred method for cybersecurity role. I think for the system, the APT systems or whatever they're called, the ATS system, sorry, and for the volume that recruiters get, I would suggest that a succinct CV, a 1-2 page CV would probably win out. Alana says you've got some good roads over there. Look, so you're gonna have to come to the US with me this year, Lee. You're not going to get away with it. What about another thought that anyone who's in the chat, maybe on a Friday, we should start opening it up. So if there's anyone in the chat who wants to actually jump into the live stream with us live, we can facilitate that as well. It could make it quite amusing, couldn't it?
Maybe once a month we do 3 hiring managers and then one where it's open to the community.
All right, good idea.
Yeah, and then to George, yes, you should. For me, you should always tailor your CV for the role that you want.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Hacktivity, I've got no idea who that is, by the way. Nice to see you. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. I'm not sure what your name is, though. Does it say? Bug Finder. It's a good one. But yeah, George, if you want to come on another week, give us a shout. It'd be great to have you on. Right.
Yeah.
We've got about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to just mute my microphone and shout really loud for a coffee and hope that someone brings me one up. While I do that, I'll let you talk.
Cheers, Simon. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you want me to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about all the other roles that you've got on at the moment, or we've got at the moment.
We've got on.
All right. Well, you kept saying I, so I'm just saying we. Hold on.
Yeah. It's weird looking and sign not being there. So within the UK at the moment, the roles which we're mainly working on, we've got sales roles. That's both entry, so where you join part of a sales academy. That's more office based. We've got senior sales positions. We've got senior testing positions, IT support managers, SOC analyst, junior SOC analyst. But again, it's matching up the right experience across then. We do actually also have, if there is anyone listening who's actually hiring, we do have some absolutely fantastic people looking for roles as well at the moment within the UK.
Saying that, I've got a couple of industry leaders in the US CISO level who are also looking for roles at the moment. So if anyone's watching in the US and they're looking for new leadership within the organisation, please do reach out. George has made a couple of comments there. How can we as a community support each other while supporting customers? I wish there was an app like Uber, but for IT support that small businesses can use to get their support ASAP. That's a good idea.
Well, that's where using a company such as your CyberSec.
Seamless. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that is part of the reason why I set up your CyberSec in the first place, was actually to help these organizations where they don't know where to go for the services. There's no reason a marketing company or an accountancy firm, whatever it may be, knows about IT and cyber. But then part of the problem around security and IT support is that IT support and IT security are very, very different things. Very different. And too many IT support companies say, "Oh, we do cybersecurity." I spoke to one at a networking event. Actually, because IT support companies, "Oh, we do cybersecurity. Our customers can never be hacked." And like, "Oh, why?" "Oh, we use Mimecast and FortiGate firewalls." I was like, "So?" Great. As I said, if the Computer Misuse Act wasn't a thing, I'd have you proved wrong by lunch. But the problem is, these are seen as I've done another talk and presentation on this, in that just because someone's trusted doesn't mean they're trustworthy.
Yeah, I think
very, very different things.
You're seeing masses of IT firms now starting to offer cybersecurity support services to their clients, and I would argue that
they're marking their own homework.
They are, yeah.
And it shouldn't be done. That there's certain things where if someone says, "Oh, we test all our networks and we test them to make them secure," I'm like, you maybe want a third party one testing them. You want to do your own on them. You know what I mean? It's but trusted. Just because someone says, "Oh, I trust them," doesn't mean they're actually trustworthy. They're entirely different things, and it's an important thing that companies need to learn, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. George said the correct answer is to not give away what you use for your security suite. That's a huge target. I'm protected because I have Fortinet firewalls. That was perfect, dude. It was. They are the kind of conversation. But then you've got a whole new subject there about the firms who are asking the IT firms for help don't really know what they're asking for either. It's going back to what I was...
Exactly, which is why your CyberSec is, we actually, we take the time to understand them, their resources, what technology they're using, what industry they're in, what drivers have they got, what compliance, what regulations, what budgets do they have, what knowledge do they have in-house, how much time can they actually spend to assisting with all of this. And then we find something which is the correct business fit. Because the problem is with salespeople are assholes for the most part. Although we are hiring for some, hopefully they're not all. Yeah, I'm an out-and-out salesperson, mate. I can say it. Yeah, they're all designed to say yes because they live and die by a sales figure. So if you think, within the UK, if you go to Currys and you want a TV, they will always have a TV that is right for you, and it's always the one that's in stock.
Oh yeah.
If you want to buy a new car and you go to your local garage, they will have the right car for you, and it is one that is in stock and able to drive away there and then. I said the Currys one because I recently bought a new TV. Spent far too much time looking up all the different TVs, knew exactly which one I wanted. Went into Currys because they said I had it at PC World, and I said I want that one. And the guy said, "Oh, we don't have that in stock, but we've got this one. This one's probably a little bit better." And I was like, "I can tell you the spec, the resolution, everything about this TV, and I know that is not as good as the one that I want, but that's the one they had in stock." And that's the problem. It's like, if someone hadn't been as sad as I was and spent that much time reading up on TVs, they may have gone with the other one. But it's the same across every industry. It's not just cyber. The problem is cyber as a term really means nothing.
No, it's a nautical term, isn't it?
It's a lovely buzzword at the moment, cyber. Yeah. It doesn't, like when someone says I'm a cyber expert, I'm like,
no, you're not.
How? In what? testing, consultancy, cryptography. How are you a cyber expert? The term means nothing, and it's way too
But then
broad.
that links back to, I suppose, the topic of the show, for those who are trying to break into the industry, about the importance of working out which part of the industry you want to work in. Going back to
Yeah,
what we were saying earlier about you're either a pen tester or a SOC analyst, there's like 49 other jobs in between that.
yeah.
What
Sorry, I'm
you
reading
got
off the
you
side
got an
here.
angry face. This is Lee's angry
I
face
always
when
have
he
an angry
reads.
face. You know
Yeah,
that.
Mike, I completely agree. You should run from anyone who calls themselves a
Yeah,
cyber expert. I think, there are people with massive amounts of expertise, and you're one of them, Mike, in the industry, as is George and Kev. But to say anyone can be an expert on everything in the industry is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, I'm an expert on absolutely all, so I can safely say that.
yeah.
Last question. Here we go. Do you see
Which one
many
are you going for?
opportunities for micro internships or mini project hires, 30 to 90 days with a set paid fee for a specific? Yes, is the answer. That me too,
I've done
Kev.
quite a few. I've done quite a few of them in organisations where people have done. They've been wanting to improve their information security roles. Internally, and the role isn't just going in, doing it, leaving. It goes further where the person actually who I put in actually help hire for the person who was going to be taking them on as well. So it went further because they got a sense of it, and then they actually got to find someone who would fit in with what's working there. So yeah, there you go.
Sorry, it's me trying to type at the same time. I was going to say something really insightful then, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, so going back to Beth's question about the sort of the mini project hires, a really really good place to look for those is on sites like Upwork. Last year, was it last year? I think so. Maybe the year before, when I first set up the InfoSec Live community, I'd had an awful lot of success working with a penetration tester in the UK, winning business for them on Upwork. So we got together a little group of us in the community. This is from someone who always said he'd never have his own business again and people to manage. So it didn't go terribly well. But we got 10 people together and we landed like 3 or 4 different projects. The problem with it was, from my perspective, I didn't want to be managing different people and making sure they were doing jobs. So it petered out. But the point of the story, Beth, is there is stacks of work on Upwork, especially
The only
short-term
thing is,
contracts.
it's part of the problem with Upwork, I found, and just other things in general, especially with smaller businesses, is they don't actually know what they need. They know what they
Correct.
want, but what they want isn't necessarily right
Yeah.
for what they should be doing. So that's where actually being able to scope the work and speak to them and get these things out is very, very, it's an important thing.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
is. I'm just I did put together a course, Beth, in the InfoSec Live community, which is free, called Upwork Hacking, which goes through the processes I use to help people win business on there. So it might be worth you having a look. But Mike's hit the nail on the head there. Brand yourself hard on LinkedIn. Treat LinkedIn like a career for 6 months, and you'll have more opportunities in your inbox than you can imagine. And Mike and I had a chat about this the other day, and the opportunities I've had the last few months alone off the back of networking on LinkedIn have been phenomenal. And as I said to Mike and you, Lee, I'm unemployable, so I've turned all of them down. But it's nice to be
yeah, I
wanted.
could work with someone else. There's too much freedom being able to do your own thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, but,
no, there is
I
definitely.
think the next one we're going to try and get a hiring manager on, or someone who's currently hiring, to kind of discuss like their experience and what they see is important within the people going for roles and trying to break into the market.
Oh, absolutely. Richard, expert X as in has been spurt as in little squirt. Very good. I think that is probably us done. We're over time. We're about to wrap things up now. So I want to just say a couple of things. If anyone's about tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. GMT, we have an open networking session in the InfoSec Live community. We've already got quite a few people registered for it. And it's on the space station as well, which is quite cool. So we've got breakout rooms, poker tables, if you're interested. I think even Doom game, if you want to sit at tables and play that. But the whole point is to get people together, networking, to build up those relationships and connections. For anyone who wants to come on the show, especially if you're a hiring manager or you've got a story that you want to share, Lee and I would love to have you on. We're going to be here now every Friday at the same time, waffling on and chatting like we have today. And for me, The turnout's been phenomenal. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you in there. Not just the massive thanks to the industry leaders we've got in there involved with this today, but also everyone else, friends in the community and new faces. Thank you for tuning in. Lee, any wise words before we go?
For me, it's that Meat Feast is not the best pizza. Because I saw you wrote on there.
Come on then. What's the best pizza? Let's just sort this out.
The place near me does a chicken tikka pizza with jalapenos on, which is good. And one called
See,
Cheeky
you've dropped the ball there because you told me that you had your own pizza oven. So
yeah, I do. But I said pizza place. My pizza oven's amazing. In all fairness, I'd always pick burger over pizza anyway.
Would you? Yeah, I'm a bit bad with bread. We won't go into intolerances on this chat. That's a whole nother live stream, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look, everyone, thanks very much. If you get a chance and you haven't, please do like and subscribe. Lee and I will be back by 4:00 GMT, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Fridays. And next week we've got an absolutely jam-packed studio session, and I just want to bring the channel up so I get these absolutely right. We are back in on Monday for the very first edition of the Vendor Experience, where we've got Axis's two strategic directors coming on, Jay Tilson and John Spiegel, to talk about how they went from being industry leaders to working for the dark side, which I think is going to be quite interesting. We've then got on Wednesday, the man, the legend that is JJ Davey, for a one-off special of what we're going to call the SOC Experience, digging into his experience and what he's been doing with the SecOps Institute recently as well. Followed by the next day, Stephen Semmelroth, massive leader in the US, coming on the CISO Experience. Then on the 20th, which I think is Friday, isn't it? We've got InfoSec Pat for Top Cyber Gadgets 2023. And the following week, we've got Scott Wright for the Human CISO, and then the very own Mike Miller and Carlos Guerrero for the CISO Experience and the GRC Experience on the 26th and the 30th. So if you can tune in, that would be great. Lee, you've got to say something insightful before we go, except for pizza. And hold on, Mike, it's an Armani hoodie. I can order you one online and send it over. It's absolutely fine.
I'll be honest, Simon, I don't think I've ever said anything insightful in my life.
That's not true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there then, and I'll play a little stinger out, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks ever so much. It's been amazing.
Cheers,
I can't find the outro. Keep talking. Here we go.